Shelley Carney and Toby Eunice bring you New Mexico day trips. Visit national parks, monuments, state parks, and historical sites. See the amazing and unique desert vistas of the Land of Enchantment and walk through the visitor centers, museums, and Pueblo ruins with us. Enjoy the sights, sounds, and flavors of New Mexico. Let's have an adventure. Hello and welcome to New Mexico Day Trips. I'm your host, Shelley Carney.
And I'm your other host, Toby Eunice.
Tonight we're going to be talking about our recent trip to the Maxwell Museum of Anthropologies. My apologies. Which is located on the UNM campus. So we'll be talking about that in a little.
On the western edge of the UNM campus, as I discovered yesterday.
Yeah.
Or day before yesterday. When did we go? Saturday. Let me take care of some business here. As you can see, there is a scrolling bar down below me. Everything that you need to know about us, get in touch with us. It's on that bar someplace or the other.
Yeah, go to the bar.
Go to the bar. Go to the bar. We'll be there. You'll find us. Yeah. Go to the bar. You'll know where we are. Let me do my little pitch. I would appreciate it if before you leave tonight, you'd like our video. YouTube likes it when you like our video. Share it with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your business associates, the entirety of your social network so that we can grow the channel. And we are at 96 subscribers. So if you tell 4 other people and they subscribe, we'll get to 100. We still can't monetize, but what the heck? 100 is better than nothing. And then finally, if you are, did I already say subscribe? No, I was talking about sharing. If you are not a subscriber, this would be the ideal time to subscribe. That way, every time we start a live stream or upload a video, you'll be immediately informed and as a result in the know. And there is nothing better in life, ladies and gentlemen, than being in the know. Finally, if you have any comments you'd like to make, you're welcome to make them while we're in the chat room. We love seeing your comments, even if it's a simple little hi, Toby and Shelley. We like saying that. If you're watching a video after the live stream is done, there's a comment section below. Please feel free to make your comments there. Tell us how good we're doing or tell us how bad we're doing.
Or just make a suggestion of somewhere you want us to go in New Mexico.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye on the comments and I will pass those on to Shelley. I did want to post, we're going to be sharing some photos tonight. And so I wanted to post the link to the album in case you want to enjoy that. It is also that link in the description box below. All right. So there we are. Just click on that link and you'll go see the photos. We're going to go through them tonight later.
So we also have a website with all of our New Mexico Day Trips content at nmdaytrips.com. And you can find there our blogs and our photo albums as well as, our videos that you can go watch. But we're all on video on YouTube. So either way, you're going to end up back here.
So I think saying that we're on YouTube is a short shrift to my partner here. Because if you haven't read her blog posts, you are missing something. She writes the best blog posts ever. Now, we include them in our newsletter every week. So if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, you'll see it on the scrolling bar below. Log into our newsletter, and that way you'll get her blogs, her writing, her blog writing, and not even have to go. Well, you do have to go because we don't put the whole blog post in there. But she's really good. She's very good at describing what we're experiencing. There's a lot more emotion in her blog posts than you see in our videos, and I enjoy reading them. I mean, I know her. I know what she's going to write, and I still enjoy.
We do put up a post twice a week. One is about a day trip, and one is about life and us. What's going on in our lives?
What's going on in our lives?
So yeah,
because we have aside from New Mexico day trips and garage prospecting, aside from that, we lead really exciting lives.
Mm-hmm. We had a great Valentine's Day. I hope you did too. We had some steak and lobster dinner at the Red Lobster.
At Red Lobster, but it was fun. It was nice. We actually had to go. So
we went today.
See here, let me explain. I'm going to give you an example of how exciting our life is. Our lives, our respective lives are. A couple of days ago, I don't know if it's a couple of days. I'm going to say a couple of days ago because I don't remember. Shelley said, I want to start cleaning out my house because they're empty nesters now. The kids have moved out. They've got a huge house. They don't need a huge house. Eventually, they're going to have to move into a smaller house. And they don't quite know. And I'm telling you the story, but she probably tells it better than I do. And they don't quite know where they're going to end up. But they know that sooner or later, they've got to move out of this house. And they've accumulated, 2 children and 2 adults worth of stuff, as we all do. Well, Shelley decided that she wanted to start getting rid of this stuff. So we made a deal. And the deal was every Wednesday, we're going to put stuff in my truck. I'm going to put some of my stuff that I need to get rid of. And I'm pretty good at this. I don't have any emotional attachments to stuff. My watches, maybe. But and my camera equipment. Well, okay, so I have emotional attachments to some stuff, but what we said to ourselves is every Wednesday we're going to put some stuff in my truck. I'm going to put stuff from my house. Then I'm going to drive over to Shelley's house. I'm going to unload. I'm going to load up stuff that she has in the garage, and we're going to make a trip over to the Savers, which is kind of like a Goodwill except better. I don't know how to describe it. They're great for work shirts. That's where I get all my work shirts. See this work shirt right here? See,
Needs replacing. That's why we got you a new shirt today.
It's a work shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's supposed to be like that. It's got.
We could throw more bleach on it and have more
polka dots on them. Anyway, so we made our first trip today. We made our first trip. We weren't together yesterday, which was Valentine's Day, so we decided to do today, Wednesday, double duty. We went to Savers. We literally had the truck, not a truck, but the floor of the truck was covered with stuff. Some of my stuff, some of Shelley's stuff. We gave it to them. We got a receipt, and then we thought, I need some new work shirts. I know it sounds crazy to get new work shirts. I like to get work shirts that I don't feel bad about beating up. So it's a lot easier to walk into Savers and buy a $5 shirt than it is to order a $30 shirt from Amazon. So we went into Savers, and
plus we're recycling.
Plus, that's right. We are recycling. So Shelley found some stuff. I found some stuff. I found an Ansel Adams book in there. So, and if you don't know who Ansel Adams is, you should look him up. And then where did we go? We went to at home. Mm-hmm. So I could get the springy bathroom thing because I needed a new one. The other one had just gotten the paint and worn off.
Shower shelf. Yeah,
springy shower shelf. And then we went to dinner. Yeah. We went to our Valentine's Day dinner.
Yeah.
So we did that, and Shelley gave me a card and a candy bar because she knows what kind of candy I like. And
because it was free.
Because it was free. And Nicole was our waitress, and she was very nice. Everybody was nice today. The young lady at the at home store, she told us exactly where to go to get the stuff that I needed. She talked to us as we were checking out. I signed up for their discount program. Everybody had the Savers had a 25% Wednesdays, 25% military discount. And the at home had a 10% discount. So I was doing pretty good today. So we came home. I did some work. I've got to get ready for garage prospecting, which means I got to process some pay dirt. The pay dirt is called Miss Chemoson's Pay Dirt Blue Tundra Delight. It's from a Miss Chemo.
Miss Chemo.
No. But it says Miss Chemoson's. Miss Chemoson's. Miss Chemoson.
Okay.
And it's called Blue Tundra Delight, and it is kind of blue, but it comes from Alaska. And there's supposed to be a gram of gold in there, did they say?
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard to get out. It's for expert panners, and I am nowhere near an expert at this, but I'll do what I can. Anyway, that's going to be on our show tomorrow night, assuming I get it all done in time. So what
did Mary have to say here?
That was our exciting time. Mary says howdy, and then she says, it's amazing how much stuff you have after 5 years or more. You're like, I kept this. Why?
That's true. In fact, when we went to the Maxwell Museum on Saturday, we went to the gift shop, and Toby was like, what do you want? What do you want? And I was like, I have enough. I have too much stuff already. I don't need anything. But he wanted to get something. So we went over. They had a container full of colorful rocks, which you'll see a picture of.
Polished rock. No, you won't see it. I didn't take a picture of them. Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, did I?
It's in our photo
Oh, okay.
album.
All right.
And
Yeah, tumbled
it
polished
was
stones.
you fill up a little velvet bag for $4 with as many rocks as they'll fit in the bag. And then we went to dinner right after that, and we were talking about what are you going to do with those? Where are you going to put them? And blah blah blah. And there was a table next to us with two moms and two little girls, and they were kind of
Scoping us.
having fun, and Toby was waving and making faces at them and stuff. And so we showed them the rocks and said, which one is your favorite color? So they both came over, and each one grabbed a colored rock to show to their mom. And their moms were like, oh, you better give those back. And Toby's like, no, keep them. And then as we were leaving, he got the bag of rocks and the little information sheet that came with it and gave them to the girls and said, you guys share these. And that took care of the problem of what to do with those rocks.
Yeah. Now those moms have to worry about where all those rocks are going to go.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we've started them on a path of pretty rocks.
I'm a sucker, as you know. I have 4 daughters, and I just love them, and so I'm a sucker for that. I see whenever I see a little. What is she? Well, like 6, 7, 8. How old?
Who?
The little girl that were at the table.
They were 5.
Oh, okay.
Remember? The one was saying I'm having my 5th birthday in a couple days.
Oh, that's right. I see adorable soccer players. That's how they all look to me, right? And so I'm a sucker for that. If she had said, look, I don't want your rocks, give me a $20 bill, I would have probably given her a $20 bill.
They like the rocks.
They like the rocks. And I don't.
So should we show the pictures?
Yeah, we better do that
these
quick.
People can like our rocks too.
Okay, here we go. So we were at the Maxwell Museum of Anthropology on the UNM campus, on the western edge of the UNM campus. And let's share some pictures here. So we're going to add that to the stream. There we are. Open up the pictures. We do one selfie that's inside the museum. So they had this weird rule, and I actually talk about it in the video. The rule was you can take pictures and video on the lower level, but not on the upper level. And the upper level was more about Native Americans and Southwestern Native Americans, back to the ancient Native Americans. The problem was there were some funerary pottery in there. And they're very sensitive about that. So they asked us not to take videos or photos on the upper level, and we didn't. That's what they asked us to do. And there were 3 or 4 people that reminded us just accidentally. We'd start talking to them, and they would say, by the way, did they, or you're not supposed to take pictures on the level. But there was so much to take pictures of it. We had plenty to shoot. So this was... Okay, so I'm breaking my own rule. I was standing on the second level, and I saw this wall art, and it was a copy of a piece of art that had been discovered in northern New Mexico, and apparently it was done by a Native American. It was a pictograph, not a petroglyph. It was painted, and it looked like it was that particular Native American's perception of the a group of Spanish that were coming into their country with their dogs and their horses. So it's not actually, it's a wall thing that you can only see when you're on the second floor, but
you
not
can see it from the bottom floor too. You just get a better shot
angle
of it.
That's right.
The top floor.
So I'm going to go through these quickly because all I wanted to do was collect the data, because eventually I wanted to read all of these things. We don't have time to do that. And they talked about, so one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight, if we get a chance, and I mentioned in the video, is the difference between anthropology, which is the study of peoples in the context of their cultures and their locations, and archaeology, which is the study of things of those people. And they put them together. There's a lot of crossover. They're very careful not to call themselves archaeologists if they're anthropologists, but there's a lot of crossover. As a matter of fact, some of the great archaeologists started out as anthropologists and just found the field work more fascinating. So this is a museum of anthropology. So you are going to see some archaeological material, but mostly it's about the people, and it goes all the way back to 4 million years ago, where the first humans, I'm not sure you could call them humans, but the beginnings of the humans, hominids, the beginning of the hominid species began. So it has, oops, that's not supposed to be that way. I'll edit that later. And that, and that. So lots of artifacts from various locations. What was really great about this place, and you're going to see this, the study of stratigraphy, which is the layers. So they can tell much about the layers. They called them middens, and a midden is a nice name for a trash dump. But they're very informative because the Puebloans especially had a consistent behavior when it came to these trash dumps. And so they learn about them. They learn a lot about the people and what they were doing from these various layers that are formed at each of the pueblos and in each of the middens associated, because there's the kind of the rule they, as you understand it, that they had from the Puebloans is everybody stuck to the fact that that was a trash pile. You didn't throw your trash all over the Pueblo. You went and threw it on this one trash pile, or more than one, but it was very distinctly a place where you went to throw stuff. And so those middens become very informative. You find out a great deal about the people from those trash piles. So they had a lot of samples. Now so again, we're in an anthropology museum. This strikes me more as archaeology rather than anthropology, but they all make these very detailed field notes, and then they're collected. All this information is collected along with the sketches that are drawn, the pictures that are taken, so that a record is made of all this. They had a sample of a pit house, and that's it. The pit house was the earliest of domiciles for the Puebloan people. And they actually had a sample that to me looked, because of the walls, while it may not have been in Chaco Canyon, it was the Chacoan people, the Chacoan culture, just because of the style. You can see the flat rocks put together, very thick walls. And this one was about 3 feet, but some of the walls that you see at Chaco are 5 feet. And then they had the latillas to hold up the walls as you made the openings. And of course, they don't have windows, right? But the openings were used for air, for light, and for traversing once you were in Chaco. And Chaco is funny because there's doors that lead to rooms that lead to other rooms that lead to other rooms, and you may never get out of it. Sometimes it feels like if you've ever been to Chaco Canyon, you can walk through any one of the large areas, and you can walk from one end to the other and never leave rooms, go through multiple rooms, but never leave the rooms, never go outside until you get to the outside window. So they took and they created a whole example, a complete example of a pit house right there on the bottom level. And you can see how they study the stratification, the stratigraphy. That's the examples that you'll see right here. So the reason I put this is because I took a couple hundred photos, and I'm not going to torture you going through all of them, but there's a lot of information. So these are some of the things that they find in these areas. So they find some of their foodstuffs, a lot of corn, of course, tools, and sometimes weapons. These are flake stone weapons for cutting, scraping, and putting on the ends of arrows. Pottery, of course, and animal bones that they used for a variety of different things, including scraping. They used them for making needles. They used them for making flutes. So they did all this. They loved bone. I think that's why I love bone marrow so much. When you cook bone marrow, it's really good. So the different ceramics that they made on this side, they can tell by the different colors and by the way it's glazed in color and in shape, in artistic rendering. They can tell from what Pueblo it came from. And then, of course, there's all these different minerals that they use, from quartzite, petrified wood, obsidian, chert, and chalcedony, and they're all used for different reasons. because they all could be flaked. And because of that, and I think we mentioned this when we were at the Anthropology Museum in Ghost Ranch, it can be used for trade. Not only can it be used for tools and weapons, it can be used for trade.
I'm just making myself a note so I don't forget to tell you.
Oh, okay. All right. Groundstone for grinding animal bones. And again, these are all found in the middens, right? In middens, it's pronounced middens, but it comes out middens real fast. So corn cob fragments, and as you can see, because they've been cooked and taken out of the fire and thrown in the midden, but they're still identifiable. So it says goose foot. That's not a cooked goose. That's a plant. So all of these were found out of the fires and into the middens. They'd take them out of the fires and put them in there. Here's a broken arrow. So there's a separate section that you walk into after you look at the sample of the pit. Anytime you want to jump in here, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, I already wrote the blog post about it.
Okay.
It's your turn.
All right. So after you walk through the pit house, then you enter the part, what I would call the anthropological part.
They call it ancestors.
And they start talking about our ancestors, and they go, as far back as our first ancestors, the first hominids. Now they actually go further back than that, but they go from the first hominids to the late hominids. And as you can see, what changed significantly is not only the shape of the head, but the fact that our cranium, the part where our brain is got progressively bigger. And that was because we learned how to use protein. So it's an example. The other thing too is scientists haven't quite determined whether the skull was growing as a result of the brain was growing or vice versa. Was the brain growing because the skull was growing? So they start with the Homo sapiens. So we know that Homo sapiens, that's this current species, that's a species you and I are, started approximately 30,000 years ago as we made the transition from pre-Homo sapien into Homo sapiens. That's what they call the modern human. So the modern human is 30,000 years old. Then they go back and they break it down by the art that was there. They have a whole room dedicated to Ice Age art in Europe because although we were experiencing the Ice Age, they weren't. They were experiencing an Ice Age, but it wasn't as dramatic as ours. So they went into caves and they painted. And I mentioned in the video, and I mentioned it to Shelley, when I was at the Corcoran at art school, we were required to find a cave painting and sketch the animal or whatever object it was that we selected in the cave painting. And then we were required to take that and make a modern rendition in our own hand with whatever choice of material we wanted. So it was kind of interesting to see all of this again. So these are the ones in France, and I've been to these. Now, they only let you in one place, and they don't even, like humans, give off, I don't know, we give off stuff. And so when they do, they realize the caves were being coated, the paintings were being coated because of the human activity in there. And so they limited to a big open area, but there's lots of pictures of it. You don't ever. This is the one I chose. This is a horse. This is a ancient hominids idea of what a horse looked like to them, painted, and this is pictograph, so it's not a petroglyph, painted, and that's the one that I chose to make my sketch, and I made a modern sketch. So these eventually they got to what are referred to as mobile art, things that you could carry with you from one location to the next. Anytime you see one of these statuettes that looks like a lady with large breasts, they're actually for the purposes of increasing their fertility goddesses, and so they used to carry that with them once the mobile. You can see, and there are a lot of them. But by this time, they're creating art from stones, from rocks, from bones, things like that. So this is a lot of the early hominid art. By this time, we were humans. And one of the characteristics of a species that's growing in intellect. It's its ability to create art, create things in art, whether they're sketches or mobile artifacts. So that's just an indication of our intellect. And it was getting so clay figures, casts of horse, wood carvings, antler point, spear throwing fragments. So we're getting to the point where we're smart enough to create our own art. And that's a brand new intellectual level for us. So again, I got these so that I could read them later. You're welcome to do that as well, because they're made with enough detail that if you want to read each of the sections of the close-ups, you can do that. So this was early human, but they were very small. They were they were between 3 and 4 feet, but they were the first ones that were standing. They had the opposable thumb. They had the ability to create their own tools. They were hairy, so they still weren't wearing the equivalent of clothing. But again, these are the samples as we made the transition through these era. Part of what made us better was our ability to eat a broader variety of foods rather than just basically leaves and roots. So we developed a whole set of muscles that gave us the ability to move our mouths in a way that would enable us to chew and not just grind things. And our teeth changed too. And so this is one of the examples. So one of the things that it did, anthropologically speaking, is it showed where the greatest transitions were as we went from non-hominid to hominid, and what changed as we went from hominid. And of course, they made comparisons to the great apes very often. You can see these are apes here as we went early in the set. And then as you go later, the skulls and jaws change into what we know as human here. So samples of the teeth. So that person that we just saw, the short one, is Australopithecus afarensis. And that was the one. And you can see afarensis. And you can see lots of grinding teeth in there. And they hadn't developed into the other kind. You can see Homo erectus, which is the first of the hominids, started. These are the cutting teeth right here and the incisors. So we started making the development. That's what gave us the ability to start using meats. And meats were what provided the protein that helped us to grow our brain. That's us right here. That's Homo sapiens right there. And you can see we went from this broad, flat tooth, all grinding teeth up here, to cutting and chewing teeth. So again, you can go through these and see the differences. I won't torture you guys with time. So after Australopithecus, then came the Neanderthals. And the Neanderthals were bigger, broader shoulders, stronger, taller, smarter. There's still a lot of debate as to why they didn't survive and why they didn't make it into past the hominids. We know that they existed, the Neanderthal and the hominid, the human, existed at the same time, and that they did cross paths. And the reason we know that is because if you ever have your DNA done, you can ask to have them show you whether or not you have any Neanderthal in you. If you're European, it is likely you're going to have some Neanderthal DNA in you. I'm Southern European, Mediterranean, so I didn't have any. Did you have any?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why you're afraid of heights. I'm not.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of edges. It's edges. It's not the heights.
They said heights.
Did that?
Yeah.
So, but for some
I'm
reason or the
supposed
other,
to be a better sprinter than a long distance runner.
the Neanderthals.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were chasers.
Not that I am, but
yeah,
I'm supposed to.
well, the other thing too is if you look at their feet,
Genetically.
their middle toe is shorter. It's not long on the
they said that
long
mine were
distance runner.
supposed to be the same, but mine aren't. My second toe's longer than
My
first.
second toe. That's why I'm a good long distance runner, not a sprinter.
Because of the longer second toe.
The longer second toe. Yeah. If you look at,
because that's what I have.
The sprinters, they all have a shorter second toe, and that came from the Neanderthal. You can see it on his foot, but their hands were huge. You can see it in here. I mean, he was much taller than Australopithecus, and bigger, broader shoulders. Started looking more and more human. The larger forehead, big hands. Great big hands, and opposable thumb, using opposable thumb, and tool making. They were very good at tool making. As you can see, by this time they're wearing clothing because the Neanderthals were dealing with the last ice age, and so the last great European ice age. So they were having to make clothes in order to survive. But there's still, I've seen probably 3 or 4 programs where they discuss why Neanderthals did not survive over the hominids, and there isn't quite. It might be genetic. It might be kind of the thing where their DNA didn't survive because some of us hominids, Shelley as an example, carry the DNA. That means there was interaction between the Neanderthals and the hominids. And the latest theory is that the hominid DNA was stronger, and basically no more Neanderthals were being produced. Hominids were being produced, maybe with Neanderthal traits, but eventually that's likely what wiped out the Neanderthal. There wasn't a big war between the hominids and
just attrition.
Yeah. So Mary asked, did any of the exhibits say anything about blood types? It didn't. It did talk a little bit about DNA, and the reason is with DNA you can actually track evolutionary traits. That's how we found out. That is how we found out so much about Native Americans in North America. But they did talk about DNA and the evolution, where it comes from, and why we still, or Shelley's Northern European roots still has DNA, Neanderthal DNA in it. But I didn't see anything on blood types. And I think the reason is blood types are associated with races rather than, not races, with, so we know that, for example, Asians tend to be AB. And my children are both my children from my Asian wife are AB. But I don't remember seeing it mentioned. I saw a lot about DNA, but not about blood types. So there's our good friend, the Neanderthal, with the deep, heavy eyebrow, tool making, opposable thumb, less hair, so having to wear clothes. This was really interesting because it was grips. They showed you how we grasp and what makes us different, and why we could get away from not only the ground, but we could climb. And the reason we could climb is because we had the opposable thumb, and we trained our hand. And then this was the area in which they explained how our hand changed, and the different kind of grips that we had as a result. So that was really interesting. It's fun just to watch this. So this is the conversation about apes and human hands. And these are the examples. So this is the pan troglodyte, which is somewhere between an ape and not even close. This is our little short friend that we saw, the Australopithecus. Australopithecus. Shelley is so much better at pronouncing these than me. Homo habilis, which is a smaller version of this guy. And then let me move over one. So there's our Neanderthal, and then there's the Homo sapien. What I thought was interesting about that is then I've always thought that the Neanderthal was much bigger. But if you look at this, I was trying to count the joints in here, and our joints are much longer, and they're kind of more developed. So I was trying to figure out what human had to sacrifice their hands so they could.
I imagine it was dead person that they found.
Yeah.
The bones of.
Yeah. So this is, again, these are just some close-ups that if you want to, you can just. I
think it's about time to watch the videos.
You think? Yeah, I think.
I haven't seen it yet.
Let me see. Let me just scroll down. So these are all close. So this was Lucy.
model of.
A model of Lucy. And Lucy was the fossilized remains of a say that again.
Australopithecus.
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 Australopithecus. That existed from 5 million to 2.5 million years ago. They nicknamed her Lucy, but she is considered not the missing link, but one of 4. I say 5, but 4 missing links. But she was the first one. Margaret Mead discovered her. So again, I was just going and collecting all this information. So this is the human family tree here, starting with the apes, and then there's our afarensis. They died out there. Then habilis through Neanderthalis to Homo sapien. So anyway, if you want to read all this stuff, that's why I got it. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go through it in a general way. They also had a temporary exhibit, although the temporary exhibit can last from 8 months to 14 months. And this one was on basketry and how important it was to the various development, especially in North America. And so I went in, I saw a picture of a canoe, and I asked myself, why is the canoe in here? There's a little sign over here that explains why there's a canoe, and a canoe is basically a large version of a basket. It's made the same way, and it's used to carry things, in this case, human beings. So they had this wonderful exhibit on baskets. I did a lot of panorama shots in here because it was very nicely laid out. You couldn't help but take the panoramas with it. So various baskets from North American cultures. These were not, it didn't go back to the prehistoric. So then I went back and I started doing, sorry, you're going to have to put this. I went back and I started doing panos of the various displays in the one that described our evolution. So I hadn't taken panorama shots, and I thought, oh, why not? Smartphones, man. They're the best cameras ever. So anyway, they're all up there. The last thing was there was this wonderful exhibit by a photographer whose name is David Grant Noble, and he focuses on archaeology and anthropology, and he takes black and white photographs with a view camera. And it was very cool because it reminded me of the work of Ansel Adams. There's the tumbled rocks. What was great about this tumbled stones thing is it came with this guide that you could take. So we just picked various colors knowing that they were on the guide. And we were actually looking at them when they noticed we were, the 2 young ladies noticed we were looking at them. And so I held some out and so they could see them, and they both picked one out, like they just grabbed it. And I think their mom realized, oh, wait, you weren't supposed to do that. I don't think it was giving them to you. But then we said, just a couple of them. And then I packed them all up, and as we were leaving, we gave them to them. So that's the front of it. As you can see, classic. What do they call that? That's the
Pueblo.
No, it's not Pueblo. It's
Santa Fe.
Colonial, Spanish colonial.
Oh.
Style of art that's on the New Mexico campus, University of New Mexico campus, which is my alma mater. I didn't graduate there. I left in my senior year, as you guys know the story. So they didn't have challenge coins, but they had pins. So we got a couple of pins, and that's they each had a piece. They aren't made from silver, but they're made from sterling. But they had a piece of coral in them, which I thought was very cool. So there.
John and Lorraine are here.
Let's see what John says. I always feel smarter after spending time with you. So thank you. I feel smarter after I spend time with her because she can pronounce all the things that I can. Lorraine says, hi, everyone. Hi, Lorraine. How are you doing? Okay, you guys ready for the movie? Yes. So it's another long one. So bear with us. And I asked myself whether I should be cutting these various parts, but there's so much to be seen, and it's such a pleasure just being in there. And I want you, what I want out of this is for you to see enough that so when you're in Albuquerque and you're near the university, it's not very far off of I-25. It's, I don't know, you're 5 minutes, not even that, 3 minutes off I-25. And they have public parking for the museum, so you don't have to compete with the students. Although I recommend that you go on a Saturday and Sunday, or is it open on Sunday? It's not open on Sunday. Saturdays rather than weekdays, or in the summer, because having gone to UNM and having worked near UNM for a variety of reasons, parking there is it's not impossible, but it's a fight between the students and the faculty and things like that, and you have to have the right little sticker. And if you're not in a place where if you're in a place where you have the wrong sticker, you get a ticket that's just huge. Okay, let's watch movie. You ready?
It's free.
But it's free.
And you go to the museum.
Yeah.
And the park, they have a few parking spots for it.
Yeah. Just make sure you're in the right place. I wasn't in the right place. I had to move. But that's what I mean. I went out and I went inside, got the pink little card that says I'm okay to fluorescent pink card. And I left and I don't know, we came back for something. And the parking official, the person who was responsible for giving us tickets, said, "Are you guys going to the museum?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "You're actually parked in the wrong place. So you have to be parked up there." So I had to get out of the truck, and you actually can see me doing that in the time lapse. So here we go.
Okay. Today is Saturday. We're on our way to the Maxwell Museum of Anthropology in downtown Albuquerque. Well, not exactly downtown. It's in the museum area. There's kind of different areas of Albuquerque. There's a downtown, there's an old town, there's the museum area. And they're kind of all pretty close to each other. And then there's the university area.
Yeah.
Unless you're walking.
I didn't know where you were taking us, so I didn't say anything.
Unless you're walking, that's good. So it's right on the, let's see, that would be the eastern edge. Do I have that right? Probably not. Of the University of New Mexico, my alma mater. Pardon me?
Western.
Is it Western? Okay. You know how I am with my
I would
directions.
think so.
And we're looking forward to the visit. We haven't been to a museum of anthropology since we went to the Museum of Anthropology at
In 1/2 mile, turn right.
Ghost Ranch, as Shelley said before she was interrupted by our guide. So I'm looking forward to it. And also, I want to spend a little time talking about the differences between anthropology and archaeology, because there are differences, and I think this particular museum highlights, what the differences are. So we'll see how it goes. It'll be a lot of fun. It's very close for us. Thanks, guys.
Well, we just arrived at the museum. It is on the west side of UNM, and there's a little parking lot that you have to get a permit for, which Toby ran inside, got the permit, ran back out. He was just jogging.
So here's the permit. You have to go in and get one. It's free, although they do accept donations. I did get a chance to speak with a couple of people that were in the gift shop. Right now, the gift shop is having a 20% off sale, Valentine's 20% off sale. You put that on your dashboard. I did find out two things. I always question when you're in a place like this, how we can use photo, whether we can use flash, whether we can make video. And what they said to us is that we can video or photo anything on the first level, which is their open exhibits. They do have a second level that you have access to, but they don't like you to use flash because there's pottery and paintings up there that the impression is that flash is going to shorten its life. But they also said I could make video up there because they have some burial pots. And so that tends to be on the sensitive side in terms of the ancient Puebloans and tribal culture. So we are going to, do what they ask us to do and not make a video up there. So this could be a relatively short video if we're only going to be on the lower level, but I'm sure you guys would be okay with it. This is an outstanding museum of anthropology, and it deserves to be seen, even if we can't put all of it on video. If you get here, you'll have access to the second floor and see some of the more what I'd call sensitive materials. Okay, so here we go. Off we go. Thanks, guys.
And the Maxwell Museum of Anthropology. And there's...
So the reason Shelley's by herself here is that's when I found out I had parked in the wrong place, so I went back to move the car.
special event. Dun, dun, dun. There's the front of the building. So you park at the side. And there's the sign. Anthropology Maxwell Museum, UNM, 500 University Boulevard, Northeast. And that's the campus. What building is that one? No sign on it. Oh, there it is. Bandelier Hall West. That's what that is. All right. Got some, Puebloan style architecture here. Let's see, I told you it was Puebloan.
It's because you said it was Puebloan. Bandoliers were the geology guys were.
Place to sit and have coffee or a snack.
Now, because we have wireless microphones, you can actually hear me before you can see me, because that wireless microphone is on the one that Shelley's is holding in her right hand.
Valentine's Day sale. UNM Maxwell Museum of Anthropology open Tuesday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Let's see, we got 20% off chocolate jewelry, fetishes, and more. What else is happening?
Yeah, that's me. What's the
Professor Ian Wallace of the Department of Anthropology will be doing an annual Ancestors lecture. That's right.
Are you talking to both your cameras there?
6:30 p.m. tomorrow night, and they're going to be live streaming it as well.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, but you gotta sign up for it so you can be in on the Zoom webinar.
All right. Got in the right parking place. The gentleman was very helpful. So let's give you a quick tour. This is western edge of the University of New Mexico, my alma mater. A lot of the buildings have this Spanish style, the New Mexican style. So, and we're at the
See how Toby has
Maxwell
to
Museum of
repeat?
Anthropology. And
Now you're
if you're going to come
repeating
here and you're not a student, come on a Saturday, because during the weekdays and the school year, this campus is just busy. Although they do have free parking here, and that's the other thing about UNM is they enforce their parking regulations with a vehemence.
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 The H is silent.
All right, we're learning about baskets.
Oh, that's very Ansel Adams. He must have studied David Grant Noble. All right, so the lighting is going to make some of our footage a little bit shaky just because it'll be
Dark.
low levels, but we'll do the best that we can. So, hi again.
Hi again.
That way?
Yeah.
All right,
Walk over here.
thanks.
You're welcome.
So we're going to go through our tour first, and then we'll stop at the gift shop afterwards because they're having a 20% off sale. And why wouldn't you?
On some things.
So it's, I'm going to call this very subtle lighting, guys. So if the video looks shaky to you, that's why.
That's pretty good for the lighting we had, don't you think? I'm impressed with those action cameras. So the University of New Mexico has both a great anthropology program and a great archaeology program. And I'm sure when given the opportunity to get to work together. So let's talk about that a little bit. That's interesting. So that's an image of Chaco Canyon. And this is an image of what?
Some horseshoe
Looks
building.
like they built it in the style of Chaco. Which is kind of neat.
In case you're wondering why I
express my
keep
opinion
looking
on
in
matter,
the camera,
differences between
sometimes I get
anthropology
off
and
if I don't keep checking.
archaeology.
Are we in the shot?
Anthropology.
Turn it too much.
I
I can
the
tell when
study
you're doing that.
of
I was going to say,
cultures.
hang on a sec.
Or the study of people in the context.
You are very good at keeping your shot.
Try.
It makes it really easy for me to do what I'm doing here because I can see you looking and I know what you're doing is making sure that when the shot while I'm focusing on the, that's what makes us, it gives us the ability to do
I'm
that.
not just,
Yeah, no. I
of
understand
hamming it up
completely.
for the camera.
Archaeology
You do a little
is the study
spinny
of
when you have to.
things that the people left behind. So
And this
there's a lot of crossover.
model of what they do at different ruins.
So there is a lot of crossover in their work. They not only work together, but I know of instances where famous anthropologists became.
So I should, as Shelley said, she's not just struggling with this. I mean, her job is to make sure that one or both of us is in the shot, right? So you know what we're doing. My job is to record what I'm seeing. So we carry the same camera, even though mine looks a little bit more complex because it has the wireless microphones on top. And I also use a smartphone to communicate with it because it makes it easier for me to make changes as I go along.
Famous archaeologist as well. These are field notes.
The earliest architectural form in the Southwest is the pit house, a single-room dwelling partially excavated into the ground. Early pit house settlements, circa AD 200 to 750, consist of one or more pit houses, whereas later settlements, circa AD 750 to 900, have pit houses and associated rows of surface rooms. Pit houses were all-purpose structures, and that people conducted a wide range of activities within them, from preparing food and making tools to sleeping. So this is what it looks like when they excavate a pit house. And they even have like the layers of discernible layers.
Stratigraphy.
Stratigraphy.
Hang on. As Shelley says, I'm playing with my camera. This is a wonderful example of. So this is interesting because to me, this is archaeological work. Discovery.
So what is this a recreation of? Because this says, this charred stump is all that remains of a wooden post that helped to support the roof of the pit house. The post must have caught fire before the pit house was filled with sand and rubbish, probably at the same time that the layers of charcoal and ash on the pit house floor was produced. A logical interpretation would be that part of the pit house burned and the structure was never reoccupied.
They just filled it
What's
with
the
trash.
question?
Is this a specific place then that we're looking?
It's certainly, I'm going to guess it's an
It's a
example.
reconstruction of an archaeological site in New Mexico. At the upper left is a portion of a room from a large stone pueblo that dates to around AD 1050. On the lower right is a roundhouse, or a pit house, dating to about 850. The earlier pit house is separated from the later pueblo room by layers of sand and rubbish. This reconstruction is an example of how archaeological sites commonly look when they are being excavated. The difficult task for the archaeologist is to interpret what these structures were like when people lived in them.
Well, again, the interesting thing is we're in a museum of anthropology, not archaeology, but it's obvious that there's a certain
They're
amount
tied
of
together.
crossover
Yeah.
between the two.
So it
And I
is
know
a
they-
specific
I
place
know
in
for
Mexico,
certain
but they
they
didn't
work
say
together.
where.
What they did is they took research from various areas and combined it into,
To make it more interesting.
well, but they also say that this is an example of where there was a pit house and then the Puebloans, probably the Chacoans, built on top of it.
As all civilizations tend to do.
Yeah.
It's a fresco.
Well, she used the natural plaster and pigment, so it's actually has the benefit of the cracks in there.
Frescoes were painted on interior walls of kivas and ceremonial houses for healing and prayer. She uses cultivated earth and ash for the plaster. Her pigments come from the mesas, arroyos, and different parts of the land.
So if the larger of the two is 1150, that's about the time that Chaco Canyon was thriving, and these walls look like the thick walls of Chaco. The pit houses came later, around AD
850.
BC, commentary? Wait,
AD
before-
750.
Oh,
I had it backwards. The pit house were 1150.
so that stamp there.
Oh, no.
is the
That was
stamp
right.
that identifies.
Yeah, the pit houses were
provides identifying
850.
information about the dig,
The
and then they're stamped onto
walls, the
those
rock walls were
labels
1150.
there. And then those labels are tied on to different things. And they bring artists with them to make detailed sketches of all the material. And what's funny, well, I don't know if it's funny necessarily, but they still bring sketch artists with them in addition to making photographs and videography.
So there's images of all this stuff in the photo album.
So see, these are all the things that you would discover as a part of an archaeological dig, documenting them. And then you would turn them over to the anthropologists to use in determining more about the people and the culture. So some samples of animal bone, their ceramics or pottery, flaked stone, or the way they cut stone and used it to make tools and weapons and other goods. A grinding stone to take and grind the corn into meal so that you can make different things from that. So I think this is our upstairs exhibit that we can't record, and I'm going to suggest that the lighting is probably, but they do have a downstairs here, part two, so we'll go here.
See what happens when I don't check the camera? The brim of my hat.
These are samples of different skulls. Australopithecus, which goes back 3 million years. Homo habilis,
I was
goes back
opening
2 million
something, but I don't know
years.
what.
Early Homo erectus, that was ours, that's where we come from, 900,000 years, and, oh no, yeah, 900 million years. No, that's not right. And then us today. Nope, I'm sorry, that's Homo Neanderthal. Neanderthal. Ensis. Neanderthal ensis. And this is an example of us today, directly at the University of New Mexico. She had Lobo gear on. It was kind of funny. Big girl. So this is the brain, the skull of a small child, the tongue child, found in Tongue, South Africa. And then this is our modern brain in a brain case. So one of the things that you learn if you ever take an anthropology or an archaeology class is these aren't the original things. What they do is once a scientist identifies and they do the initial research on whatever the object is, the actual object, they make casts of it and then send those out throughout the world so other scientists can study them. Examples, I don't know if you can see it with the glare, but modern human brain and chimpanzee brain. So this is a display of Ice Age art. In Spain, mostly in Europe. I've seen samples of the work that was made in the caves in France. There are the French Pyrenees.
They have like a cave reproduction.
So here's an example.
Smallish one, but big
So
enough for a couple
this is,
people
to me,
to
is
walk into.
anthropology, objects and what they tell us. This is about the people, right? During the Upper Paleolithic, human burial, often rich in grave goods, became relatively abundant in Central and Southwestern Europe. That's a transition when you start burying your dead. From them, we have learned that people wore decorated fur and hide clothing sewn with bone needles. They also made personal ornaments such as necklaces, pendants, etc. So anthropologists are taking the material that comes from a dig site and interpreting it to tell us more about the people themselves.
Clothing and adornment
remember
is
once-
a big step.
In an introductory art class
clothing.
Yeah,
at the
big
corporate
step. Civilization.
School of Art and Design at George Washington University, which is where it graduated from. We were told one of our assignments was to find an example of cave art and convert it into how a modern human would have painted that. And that was a really fun exercise.
And you got to draw a picture of a
Oh, this
horsey.
is their version of
horsey.
mobile art, things that they could take with them and not have to leave in the caves.
I drew him up on his hind legs.
So it was like these. So we were assigned to pick an example of this kind of cave art. And I think it was,
Wasn't
we
that one
could use
Chinese?
colors if we wanted. We had to start with either a graphite
That one?
sketch or a
That
charcoal
horse, yeah.
sketch.
The
Graphite is
horses.
just pencil.
The drawing of the horse.
Yeah, that's
Chinese.
Chinese.
And pick that sample and put it on a piece of art paper and then do our modern interpretation of that sample. And the idea was to avoid basically just copying it, do your interpretation. So we knew this was an interpretation of the Chinese horse. And so you had to draw from your imagination, the horse on the background, you know. So mobile art objects included the human form, and she was the equivalent of a goddess.
Fertility goddess.
And the idea was to bless you with many children, because that's how the species survived.
Or to rub on it
Or to rub
when she was away. When she was away. When you were out traveling. Take this with you to remember me. Remember why you want to come back.
Example of cave art, and they just replicated it to a certain extent. I wonder if they've recruited their art students to do that. So this display is all about eating and chewing and how it developed for us. So that represents the modern chimpanzee. This is Australopithecus afarensis. All humans.
I got the Australopithecus, that one right there.
And they're showing you examples of the musculature that was developed in order for us to chew.
And talk.
We have the least
And
amount.
for some of us, chew and talk at the same time.
Our food is so refined.
Too many smoothies.
Too many smoothie. Yeah, we don't have to be creative when it comes to chewing. Homo habilis. So 2 million,
Handyman. He's the handyman.
2 million year old early human. It's interesting because when you think about it,
What kind of a flat face.
and getting dressed was less important than getting food. But by that time we had developed the stereoscopic eyesight, the use of the opposable thumb, hair on our bodies to keep us warm, and a pretty good sized brain cavity, I think. Yeah.
How old was Lucy?
So
3?
that was us 2.5 million years ago.
So it would have been 5 to 3.
He's got some big hands.
So these are all examples of how the opposable thumb gives us additional capabilities that we wouldn't otherwise have. So the human hand has a total of 27 bones in it. It's a chimpanzee hand.
So one of the things that I used to remind my wives of is that babies don't use the opposable thumb. If you stick out your finger, they grab it without the thumb. It isn't until they learn later to pick up things that they start using their thumb. It's an acquired trait.
The Australopithecus afarensis.
Practice that one.
Yeah, that's Homo habilis.
Say it.
handyman, right?
Coelophysis.
Coelophysis.
Homo, I'm just going to say Neanderthal, and us, the modern human hand. at how long our thumb bone got as a result of all that use. And these are the samples of tools. That they made. Hi there. Good.
How's it going?
Yeah, so far, so good. We're having a good time.
I'm glad.
Good. It's a lot of information, you know?
Yeah. Welcome.
So this is a Neanderthal. Look at how big his hands were in comparison. Much broader shoulders, much healthier. Opposable thumbs, still hairy, but starting to wear clothing.
Oh, is that where my camera quit?
Harry now.
So the reason we went to a single camera here is at some point Shelley's camera quit, and we didn't know it until a few minutes later. It was about 5 minutes. So all we had was the footage from my camera.
That's all right.
Yeah, we survived.
Is he wearing a badge?
Nowadays,
It's a reflection of a
especially
reflection.
if they're of,
Is he wearing a badge? Northern European.
well, even like Italian, Sardinian. Look at Macron, the French president.
Yeah.
He's hairier than this guy.
Yeah, he is. I used to have a client, he was the head of a research company, and you couldn't tell where his chest hair ended and where his beard began, you know.
He's got some little hands.
Lucy. So this is 5 million to 2.5, so this is way early us. This is from where we developed. I'm going to guess he's about, what, 4 feet tall? Life-size reconstruction of a young adult female.
Lucy.
Oh, is that Lucy? So that was,
The
Lucy was
fossil
found.
on which the statue is based is Lucy.
So Lucy wasn't quite the missing link, but she was the first discovery that gave us the earliest connection between a standing biped and us. Go ahead, you do it. I'll get it.
All right. How has bipedalism changed us? How are the positions of the head different between apes and humans?
Oh, it's lighting up on the screen. Do it again.
Oh, just while I'm holding it? The head in apes is, the vertebral column is more horizontal and the head projects in front of it, which we tend to do when we're in front of the computer way too much in our lifetime. On humans, the head is balanced on top of the upright vertebral column. How does the human pelvis differ from the ape pelvis in shape and position? Let's see. The climbing hip in apes and other quadrupedal mammals, the long and narrow pelvis does not provide side-to-side balance. The hip muscles, the gluteals, move the leg backward by extending the hip around an axis of rotation from side to side. Since apes use their legs chiefly for climbing, their climbing hips give them considerable power for moving around in the trees, and quite quickly, in fact.
Change hands with your camera. So you don't have to do the cross.
The walking hip, that's in humans. The blades of the pelvis are oriented to the side, which places the gluteal muscles where they can effectively balance the trunk over the leg that must support the entire body, while the other leg is thrust forward during locomotion. The gluteal muscles move the leg to the side around an axis of rotation from front to back. Because we support our weight on one leg 95% of the time while walking, our walking hips keep our bodies from falling in the unsupported side.
That's an interesting thought, huh?
More important, our thighs, thigh bones, angle in from the hip to the knee, raising our center of gravity above the knees and eliminating the need to
Can I read it?
waddle when we walk. Waddle. We don't want to waddle. Waddle, waddle, waddle.
Unless you're a speed walker.
It's just hard to read because you
Each
can only read
skeleton
it if
has
it's lit
a knee
up.
that can fully straighten. Looks like us. They have the apes have a climbing knee. Since apes use their legs mostly for climbing, they have knees that provide them with power through all positions of knee flexion. The surfaces of their knee joints are round, providing even movement of the knee in all positions.
So the walking knee, humans have knees that can fully straighten, enabling us to stand for long periods of time without tiring the thigh muscles, the quadriceps. Humans have knees that can fully straighten, enabling us to stand for long periods of time without tiring the thigh muscles, the quadriceps,
Yeah,
which
we're back.
straighten the leg at the knee. In addition, our knees operate most effectively when they are relatively straight,
I'm having to
bent
project
less
forward
than
like a
20 degrees.
chimpanzee.
This
It's hard to
difference
read.
is reflected in our flatter or more elliptical knee joints. It makes us good walkers but poor climbers. Although I've seen some people that do some pretty good climbing. Well, they say with their, ooh, this is a real complex down there.
That's about the feet.
I gave up at the feet.
Climbing feet. Walking feet. So apes are made for climbing and people are made for walking. These people are made for walking. And that's just what they'll do.
That's how we spread, right?
Wow. Exactly.
Call the back of his chest. It looks like a human fossil, doesn't it?
A Neanderthal burial. A young man from Cabra Cave. I'm just going to read the top.
In Mount Carmel, on the north coast of Israel.
So one of the great things about both anthropology and archaeology is that when a discovery is made, they make casts. And so this is not the original, this is a cast made from the original discovery, which was where?
On the coast
Kibera?
of Israel. In Mount Carmel. On the north coast of Israel.
So the research and what helps anthropology is the combination of the fossils, the sites themselves, and comparing it to the present.
John Miller was on Mount Carmel, Israel.
It's a human family tree. So this tells us what makes modern humans unique. So the first thing, of course, is that we're bipedal, we're walkers. Bipedal locomotion, terrestrial locomotion, modest length and speed. We can use tools. We know how to use tools. We have the mobile thumb and hafting. And hafting is the art of combining different kinds of materials into tools and weapons. So an arrow is hafted because it has a point made from stone and a shaft made from wood. Eating. Oh, this is cute. So we have the right teeth, basically. We have short faces. small cheek teeth and lightly built faces, so we don't get in our own way to eat. We have larger brains, and we have language with which to communicate. We think. And good examples of the point at which that changed was when we started seeing art and personal decoration. And then, of course, there's our spread from Africa, from pretty much the center of Africa, out to where all humans are today. So these are our ancestors, the apes, the Australopithecus.
They ate the Australopithecus?
and
Went from ape to
all the way
Australopithecus.
through
Ape. What
I
did
thought
you
said
think?
they
I
ate
sapien.
Oh.
the Australopithecus.
And that process took millions of years.
Five
So
minutes.
I think this is, no, yep,
Ancestors.
hi there. Is this a temporary exhibit?
Baskets?
I'm not too sure because
Your security, let me,
there has been there for
Your
Oh, I see.
security. You don't know nothing. No, I don't say that. I'm nice to them. I don't do that.
oh, so this is, I'm going to call it a temporary exhibit that has to do with basket weaving, but all the things that were created as a result of the skill.
Baby boats.
Little tiny boats.
You could put your hamster in there. Go for a ride, hamster. Whee!
All of these examples are from their collection. Yeah. It may seem surprising to see a
sparkling
20-foot long canoe in an exhibit about baskets. But if the basket could be defined as a container for holding and carrying things,
Sparkling.
then
It's
this
got a lot
canoe
of fire.
on a frame of cedar or spruce and wrapped in the flexible bark of paper birch to hold it and carry people and their possessions easily meets that definition. So a canoe is just a big people carrying basket.
Canoe, canoe. Carried by the water.
Did you see how smooth she did that?
So these are some local basket weavers who mostly are famous throughout the world, and some of their work.
So this is actually
Madeline Tosa of Hemes.
3 separate temporary exhibits of baskets.
Julie M. Oyinki from
What do you mean
Oke,
3
Owenge,
separate? Why
north
separate?
of Espanola, and Christopher Lewis.
They're grouped separately.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You could read about it on their website. Talk about the 3 different themes.
I'm going to go do that. All right.
It's probably just supplies for putting
Pardon?
displays together. It's probably just supplies for putting displays together.
So that book over there matches the numbers of the displays. So they have explanations. So these look like materials, and the rest are results. This exhibit, this exhibition celebrates Native North American basketry traditions as seen through the collection in the Maxwell Museum of Anthropology. On display are finished objects, works of artistry, complexity, beauty, and use. Behind each basket is a deeper story. Their stories connect us to the people who made them, the lands on which they were made, and the material from which they were constructed. Each basket is embedded with profound seasonal knowledge and long-standing commitments to nature and the protection of land for future generations. What does it say about 5?
About what?
5. That's it.
I would have to put my glasses on.
Oh, you want me to do it? Here, I'll read. I have my glasses on. I'll just read the intro. Oops, that's 4. Let's go over here. So object 10 is a whaler's hat from Washington State, the Nootka tribe. And object 11 is a birch bark container, North Alaskan Yukon, early mid-20th century. This is the process. Case 6 is a wedding plaque. It's Hopi from Arizona. 7.
7 is a basket for a balloon, but a really small one.
Oh, it does look like that, doesn't it? It's a basket, Choctaw, Southeast United States,
Send a bunny
20th
rabbit
century.
up.
That's a winnowing basket, Karuk or Olequa, Yurok, California, around 1900. So you have to come and see the rest for yourself. We'll just give you the little tour. So this subtle lighting is designed for viewing these things. It's not designed for either photography or videography, so you're going to have to bear with us. I'm sure some of this is going to come out a little bit shaky because right now my ISO is 4990. It goes up to 6400, so we're peaking.
Your camera.
So what I was reading from is this right here, which gives a really good explanation of each of the exhibits. And also, apparently, if you shoot your phone at that, you can get the same explanation on your phone. Maybe I'll do it just to have it. I wonder if it'll download onto my phone.
Well, I suppose it's just their website, so you
Yeah.
can just go to their website.
So, I feel like we have to come back to these things, and not for the purpose of making a video, but for the purpose of taking advantage of all this, don't you think? I'll make sure I get that before I leave. All right, guys, so I'll walk you through the remainder of the basket exhibit. And then let's go and get a shot of the gift shop.
Okay.
And then we'll turn things off and go upstairs, just to go upstairs. What do you think?
Okay.
How come your front camera is 16 by 9?
I don't know. You gave it to me. I didn't do anything.
Oh.
what that was about.
I just don't know how it got there. I'm
Mine's
gonna have to,
s-
mine
square.
isn't, so.
I don't know.
I know.
I just turn it on. Turn
I'm
it
not
off.
accusing you of anything.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. Did you guys ever go upstairs?
No.
Okay. Let you guys know there's no filming upstairs.
See what happens when I don't look? I get my
What was the
neck.
question?
If you guys already been upstairs?
We haven't. We're going to turn off the cameras and go.
Okay, I just thought I'd let you know.
Yeah, thank you. They let us know when we came in.
Everybody told us.
All right, so I'm going to give you a quick walk through the gift shop so you guys can see what they have.
And then you see the pictures. You're like,
It's a very
wait,
nice
there's
collection.
more.
But wait, there's more. It's very New York
From,
City gift
pottery.
shop. It's very well designed.
Baskets, to fetishes, jewelry, books. Oh, nice collection of books. More jewelry, imagery. So, right. Some geology samples. I don't think they're for sale. Are they? Okay, here's the plan. We can't use cameras on the upper level, so we're going to turn off our cameras. We're going to go up to the upper level. We'll stop by the gift shop to pick something up on the way out, and then we'll do an outro outside just before we get back into the truck. Okay?
Okay.
As you come downstairs from upstairs, you're led into this photographic exhibit in black and white. It is an exhibit by,
David Grant Noble,
where do you see it?
right here.
Oh,
See?
done in black and white, and it looks, I'm going to turn around here because it starts over there. So his images have kind of an Ansel Adams look to it. So he studied the zone system, and it looks like his objective is to capture some of the Puebloan and ancient Puebloan architecture.
Jeeps.
Canyon de Chelly and Mummy Cave and some Chips. Ancestral Puebloan, Chaco and Chacoan cultures, along with images of pictographs. Canyon de Chelly, that's the White House. Pueblo Bonito, that's a Chaco Canyon. That's also Chaco Canyon, that's one of the bigger ruins. Northwest Arizona, didn't even know that was there. On the Rio Puerco Valley. We go by that all the time on our way down to Socorro. That's Gila Cliff Dwellings, National Monument. Bandelier, those are the cave dwellings at Bandelier, up near Los Alamos where we were last week. That's a beautiful collection. Okay, let's go outside and do an outro, then I'll come back and take pictures.
Okay. Well, that was the Maxwell Museum of Anthropology at the UNM campus, and it's free to take a look at. So make sure you stop by if you're in Albuquerque.
Give yourself, if you have any interest whatsoever in the cultures of the Southwest, give yourself, especially the Native American cultures, give yourself a good, it's open from 10 to 4. You can use all of it.
I've tried 3 times to finish that sentence.
Look at it in detail. There's
I
much
didn't even
information
interrupt
here.
you.
You have access to the first floor. You have
Maybe
access
it's
to
good
the
I
second
interrupt
floor.
you so you don't look like you
Although
can't
you
finish
can't
the
see
sentence.
the
remember, yeah.
imagery up there, I strongly recommend you get to the second floor, especially if you have an interest in the evolution of Puebloan culture, because that's where a lot of that information stands. But everything else is very informative, very complete. The exhibit of basket weaving is very good, and the photographs, the work of David Gibson? Nolan.
Or Gibson, I don't know. Whatever the guy
Gibson.
said, whatever his name was.
Is worth viewing,
Dave,
especially
we call him.
if you're a black and white photographer and you enjoy not only looking at black and white photography but shooting it. So that's it for today's trip. We're actually going to go back in and take some photos of some of the labels and things like that, so that we have the pictures as well. Anything else?
We might be going somewhere else, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, we're going to go on probably to, what's it called? Sawmill, the Sawmill area, and we're going to go visit Mama's Minerals, which is a local mineral plush shop. They have jewelry and minerals and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know if we'll shoot anything there, but we're on our way there. Okay?
Okay. Here we
All right. So Shelley's back in the truck already. This is the parking lot for the museum. It's on the west side of the museum. You actually have to go around to that direction to gain entry. This is a stop sign. That's an exit, at the exit to the museum. And inside of there, on a magnet, I don't know if you can see it, I've hidden Mariah's cash coin. So if you find yourself in this out in this area, see if you can find the coin.
Sneaky.
Sneaky.
All right. Once again, Professor Ian Wallace will be doing a talk about metabolism, the human body metabolism, hunting and gathering, and how that affects our metabolism today. And that will be tomorrow evening at 6:30 Mountain Time. They are live streaming it, but you do need to sign up for it if you're interested in being in on it, because it's going to be through Zoom. They'll be doing a Zoom webinar, and you can do that on their website, and that's maxwellmuseum.unm.edu.
I've actually put the link to the event.
And then you can find the event there if you're interested. They have a lot of events. Now, they're just starting to do live streaming. In fact, one of the students there, I think it was a student, spoke to us about live streaming and how that was done. And Toby was giving him some advice, and we offered to,
he was one of the curators.
Oh, he was a curator?
Yeah.
He said he was going to be doing the live stream, setting up the live stream tomorrow night. So he's saying that we're just getting into this. We're just getting that started.
Anyway,
so,
we told him that if they wanted some help, we'd be happy to help them.
Yeah. But check that out if you're interested.
I put the link to the event tomorrow night if you're interested in seeing what they do. So let me see. You've seen the pictures. I put the link to the pictures. We did have, as usual, we learned a lot. But I wanted to let you guys know I did get my book, the one that's called The Little Dinosaurs of Coast Ranch. And it was written by Edwin H. And it says Colbert, but what's his name? Pronounce it Colbert.
Yeah, but you know what? He talks about his ancestor who was a horse thief, and he calls him Colbert.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think
Well,
he's
see,
the first one to pronounce his name Colbert.
We all have ancestors that we regret, me amongst them. I got all kinds of badass ancestors. Anyway, it's got great drawings, good material, and I was glad that I finally got it. And when I got it from Abe Books, which sells used books. This is a new book. This was unopened when I got it, and it still has the jacket, so I was really happy to get that.
So did you want to share about the
I put the link in there, but you want to
Oh.
talk about it for a sec?
So there are, and I wrote about this in our blog post, but it's not up yet. But there are temporary exhibits, including the baskets
Oh.
and the black and white photographs by David Grant Noble. Wait, Noble. And I always say his name wrong. Dave, we called him. And here's some information about those. Now, it's actually 3 different basket exhibits, and I don't know how long they're going to be up. The Gullah baskets
The
were
Gullah
there
Geechee baskets are there
for-
till the 18th.
They were there for Black History Month. But then they had the Conversing with the Land Native North American baskets.
They said
And they
the
say
end
they're
date
going
is-
to end, but they
were
didn't
still
have
there.
anything else to put up, I think, and they decided to just put it all up together since they were all baskets and they were sort of related. And then this is the exhibit by David Grant Noble.
through the 28th of February. It's beautiful work.
And it's been
if
up
you'd like-
since May. So
if you're a fan of black and white landscape photography.
apparently they have a lot of material that, so they cycle it through in these temporary exhibits so that they can show some of the things that have been, put away. They can bring them out.
Which is not
display
unusual
them.
for museums. They always seem to have more material than they can
Space,
display,
yeah.
than they do have space. And so they have to alternate these exhibits. I mean, you saw that canoe. That canoe was probably 20 feet long. And there's only so many times in your career that you can put that canoe on a wall in the context of all the other things. And who would have thought that canoes would be on a basket in a temporary basket exhibit? But I thought it was very rational. The other thing that happened is, did we mention this last week? So Shelley's stepdad is a rockhound and has quite the collection. And he said he was ready to give it up, to donate it someplace. And so we contacted the Mineral Museum that we were at last week, or 2 weeks now. It was kind of last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And reached out to them, and the chief curator called me back, and he's headed for Phoenix in March. And so we're going to make arrangements for him to visit with Shelley's stepdad to see if he would like to have him donate the collection to the Mineral Museum down at New Mexico Tech. So maybe one day we'll be able to go down there. They do have temporary exhibits of people that have made donations or are collectors, and they loan them for the because we had video of that. So we're looking forward to one day maybe going down there and seeing an exhibit of Shelley's dad's
And if
collection.
they don't take it there, then he may know people at
in Arizona.
The University U of A down in Tucson has a geology department, and a display.
I thought the big one was
minerals.
Northern Arizona University.
NAU?
No,
It's a pretty small
Is it?
university.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then so is Socorro. So,
yeah.
but I think U of A has a.
Anyway, there's a
bigger-
good chance that
which is why they have the rock show there. right? The
Shelley's-
Gem and Rock Show.
Well,
there.
that was the other thing too. The reason he didn't call me back last week is he was down in Tucson, and they actually have a display because some of the materials that they collect, they actually take them to these gem and mineral shows. They set up a booth and they sell them so that they can put back into the museum if they have extras of any particular specimens, and they can put it back into the museum. So the place that we went after the Anthropology Museum was Mama's Minerals, and we picked up a couple of other specimens. We got a really good sample of smithsonite. We got a really good example of pyrite, and we got a really good example of chalcopyrite. Chalcopyrite.
That's it.
So I'll get pictures of those, and I'll start building an album just of our specimen collection, if you will. But yeah, we might someday be able to go down to Socorro and see an exhibit of Shelley's stepdad's collection there, because he'll donate it to the museum. How cool is that? So let's go back here. You want to answer this question?
Is holding 2 cameras like patting your head and rubbing your tummy must be difficult to film with too? Most of the time I just holding one. It was just while Toby was doing whatever he was doing.
It's not hard for me because I can pat my head and rub my tummy, or I can rub my head and pat my tummy, whichever one you want.
I think you had forgotten something in the truck and you had gone back for it. I'm not quite sure why you weren't there.
Wasn't that one? No, I went to move it, remember?
Oh.
We had already gotten out of the truck. We had our cameras set up, and that's when that was a police, he was a parking enforcement guy, came up and told me that I went in the wrong I parked in the wrong place.
Yeah, park.
So-
If you go there, park in the one that says reserved for Maxwell Museum.
Right. I didn't. But it was just a few steps away, but I didn't want to give him and I don't think he was going to give me a ticket, but
No.
since I was there and since he was there, that's how she ended up.
So,
So yeah, the idea with two cameras is you want one facing away from you and one capturing the idea. So she did a really good job of that. So Mary says, my mom's second husband was hairy. His chest and back hair looked like a mat, so you could comb his back and chest hair. Sounds like something Mary did. Everyone's like, stepdaddy, can I?
no, gross.
No. Okay, Mary.
She said
Little
you could. She didn't say she did.
TMI, Mary. John says, I've been on Mount Carmel in Israel where that Neanderthal fossil was first found. Mary, let's see. What does Mary say? I find it fascinating. The culture from all over the world, from way back, incorporated the hunt, the growing season, etc., and the marks, painting they left behind. If you go to, if you go to YouTube, but there's a video on YouTube of a TED Talk, and it is a woman who is doing a talk on the 32 symbols that are consistent from culture to period to area, etc. She says you can find these symbols in all cultures almost as if they were, genetic in some ways. If I find it, I'll post it in the comments below for you, Mary. Because I went through it, and you look at it and you say, yeah, those are symbols that we see in the Southwest, but then we see them on the cave walls of Europe during the last ice age. So it is true, the point that you're making there.
We are one.
We are one. We're all so much fun.
Take that down then.
Take what down?
The comment.
Oh, I will. Thank you.
All right.
All right, that's it. Let's go take off our banner here. That's going to do that.
Thank you for joining us this evening for our look at the Maxwell Museum of Anthropology. Again, if you're ever in Albuquerque and you have a few hours to kill and you're, near the university, head on over. Take a look at it. It's fascinating, and it's really a well done.
I'm not being creepy. I'm just turning her heart
It's really
around.
a well done museum. I liked the recreation of the dig site. That was really cool. And yeah, a lot to see.
If you had an interest in anthropology or archaeology, you could spend a day. No, I don't want to say a day. You could spend 3 hours reading all the material associated with that example of a dig site, because they had a lot associated, and you could walk away smarter about archaeology and to some extent anthropology than you were before you walked in that building. I mean, that's what's great about these facilities that we're going to, is you come out smarter than when you went in. You know more about stuff than when you went in. And if you have a particular interest, whether it's geology, paleontology, archaeology, anthropology, any other ology that you have an interest in, you can find a place where you can learn more about it.
Apology.
An apology. And yeah, can you do the same thing by looking online? Yes, you can. But there is something special. I don't want to say there's nothing better than. There's something special about being able to go in there and actually kind of come in contact with it. We do it because we're making video material, but we're also coming in contact with these things. And, I learned, and I took a class in anthropology when I was in college. It was an elective, and everybody did. And the reason everybody did is because it was one of those 250 size classroom amphitheater classrooms. But I learned more about us and our evolution in that museum than I had thought about in a long time. So, and I always want to walk out with a book like I did with this one. You walk out and you find out that New Mexico has a history of a solid history of paleontology, although it was a Triassic period, not the Jurassic period. But it's kind of neat to know that New Mexico has that history, and that it has a unique history in the sense that the only place you can find the coelophysis is here in New Mexico. So it's just amazing to learn that stuff. Is literally within a day's drive of where we are.
Well, that's all we have for tonight, and we'll be back again tomorrow night on Garage Prospecting, talking about pay dirt that Toby's processed, and we'll be sharing all that information with you about where to find gold.
Miss Chemo sends pay dirt, and she calls it the
Blueberry Tundra.
blueberry. It's blueberry something tundra. Blueberry.
Well, we'll show it to you tomorrow. And
Yeah,
it's
we'll
in
show
the
it tomorrow.
title.
And we're gonna process that gold so you can see the gold that we get out of it tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
That's all.
That's all we got.
Yep.
Thanks for watching, guys. We love you.